From our studios at the corner of 8th and Walton in Bentonville, Arkansas, welcome to Saturday Morning Meeting, where we cover Walmart, Sam's Club, and the consumer product companies that are represented on their racks and shelves throughout the country and around the world. I'm Derek Ridenauer, and our focus is on the insights, trends, and best practices to help you as a supplier grow your business with the world's largest retailer. Thank you for joining us, and coming up today, I'm going to be talking with Walmart Senior Merchandising Director in Electronics, Rand Waddoups. And reviewing this week's headlines with me will be Robert Meyer and Jeff Clapper. But first, your headlines. In 2004 and 2005, off-price retailer TJ Maxx tried and failed to establish an e-commerce presence. But now, according to Retail Wire, TJ Maxx is back with a retail website, joining the ranks of Nordstrom Rack and Saks Off Fifth. Despite the challenges of limited stock and the need to keep costs low, off-price e-commerce may have significant appeal to cash-strapped consumers who also don't have time to shop brick-and-mortar stores. Walmart is ramping up its e-commerce efforts in an ongoing attempts to dethrone Amazon as the #1 online retailer. Investors Place reports that Walmart has opened 2 dedicated warehouses for online order fulfillment, one in Pennsylvania and another in Texas. In addition, SKUs at Walmart.com are expected to top 5 million by the end of 2013. The average Walmart Supercenter boasts only about 125,000 SKUs. Business is booming over at Dollar Tree as more consumers turn to dollar stores as a way of stretching tight family budgets, according to Business Insider. The Dollar Tree chain is opening new stores across the country as demand for ultra-low price goods increases. Meanwhile, Walmart is trying to fight the dollar store threat by stocking smaller size packages of goods, as well as increasing its number of smaller format stores. The Financial Express reports that the Indian government may be willing to allow Walmart to source some of its products indirectly through agents, a move that would make it easier for Walmart to meet India's requirement that it source 30% of its goods from Indian businesses. Walmart originally stated that it could not meet India's 30% requirement and asked for clarification on the rule. Well, we're barely into October, but major retailers are already bringing out the holiday merchandise, according to a recent story by the Daily Press Media Group. The reason for the early start? Bigger sales. While customers may complain that putting Christmas merchandise out before Halloween is in poor taste, many customers want to start and even finish their holiday shopping long before Thanksgiving. And finally, Walmart has announced that its Florida stores will meet grocery competitors' buy one, get one promotions, better known as BOGO, matching the offers at Walmart's everyday low prices. The BOGO announcement is in response to customer demand in the area and once again shows that Walmart simply will not settle for anything less than offering the lowest price to its customers. Later in the show, I'm going to be talking with Walmart Senior Merchandising Director in Electronics, Rand Waddoups, on the importance of innovation. And up next, we will discuss this week's headlines with our panel as Saturday Morning Meeting continues.
Cameron Smith & Associates is Supplier's first choice in recruiting the competitive Walmart supplier job market. We connect qualified candidates to CPG jobs in Northwest Arkansas and across the country. CSA also sources sales and marketing professionals for companies providing advertising, marketing, merchandising, and data management services to suppliers. Contact us today at csarecruiters.com.
Today's show has been sponsored in part by 8th and Walton, the premier destination for Walmart supplier education. Since 2006, 8th and Walton's by suppliers for suppliers approach to education and services has helped thousands of supplier teams grow their business with Walmart. Visit 8thandwalton.com to learn more.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Meeting, joined now by Robert Meyer and Jeff Clapper. Guys, thanks for coming in. I want to start off, headlines we're talking about, but I want to start off with Walmart matching the BOGOs in Florida. And what's interesting, there are a couple things here about this. First of all, they're only doing it in Florida. And obviously Publix and Winn-Dixie, 2 of the big accounts there, or big retailers there that do the BOGOs. So Robert, I want to start with you. What does this mean for Walmart? And what is this going to mean for suppliers?
Well, I think that it's pretty indicative of what's happening in that market, that this is something that could be a trend. The official announcement, from what I remember in the article, was that the consumers have spoken, is what Walmart had said. So they're getting that directly from the consumers. Of course, they have to compete with Winn-Dixie and Publix. But it is interesting. Geographically, so far, it's only limited to Florida. They're going to more than likely expand that to the surrounding markets where those retailers are strong. But I think the real question is going to be what happens on the funding side. If Walmart is an EDLC model and suppliers are bringing their best cost, ultimately someone's going to have to pay for that. And I think something else that we'll see is the suppliers are going to be impacted on their scorecards in two ways. One, with these sales, but the other thing is going to be in regards to markdowns, and buyers are probably going to be asking for some help on that.
Which is interesting because if you go into Walmart already as a supplier and you're giving them the best costs and all your money's thrown into EDLC, Publix and Winn-Dixie, two of the big ones that obviously do this, those are budgeted in and they're planned, so they're paying a higher price the rest of the year, and then they're getting special funding for that. And it's going to be interesting to see how those buyers relate to that. Jeff, as a consumer, what advantage do you, obviously there are some advantages, but is there a frustration because Publix and Winn-Dixie aren't just in Florida, they're in Alabama, they're in Georgia. What do you see, how do you think consumers are going to respond to that?
I mean, I think there's always a consistency issue. Why is it this way one place and this way another place? So I think consumers, there's always going to be an education and a lag to that education, and at some point you have to be consistent in what you're serving to your consumer.
As suppliers, I think that you need to look at your cost structure, and if you are truly offering Walmart EDLC, you need to hold firm, be prepared for that negotiation because it's coming. And if this is going to be something that Walmart begins to get into and they expect suppliers to cover that funding, then you might need to look at the way that you're funding those promotions. I think certainly Walmart is going to want to put a little pressure on to find out what are the common items those retailers are picking up. So if you have business in those retailers, that's something you're going to feel a little bit of pressure about, is to try and give some intelligence in advance on what's coming.
But and is Walmart finally catching up with what a lot of other retailers have done? Kroger's had a loyalty card for as long as I can remember. Publix offers some loyalty programs. Walmart historically has never done that. They consider it a gimmick. Is Walmart finally seeming to catch up with the rest of the grocery trend? I mean, they're the largest grocery supplier in the country, more stores than anybody, and they've been kind of missing the boat when it comes to these loyalty programs. Kroger, you get up to 15 cents off on if you're with fuel points. Do you think Walmart's going to be moving to that?
Or maybe they're just trying something. I mean, again, it's one area, and maybe this is a trial to see, are we missing something? Is this more than just a trend or a bigger opportunity than we may have given it credit initially?
I think Walmart has the ability to address it through messaging and sticking to the EDLC. It is probably one of the four really core foundational principles that they operate with. So I don't see them abandoning it. Okay. But I think that this will be interesting to kind of watch and see what happens, especially along the borders of Florida.
Okay. And as we're talking about the core customer, I want to move into the next topic, which is the dollar stores, who, article out this week, dollar stores are making some really big pushes in terms of growing their brand, growing their number of units. Has Walmart lost focus on who their core customer was 20 years ago? Because it was the consumer in the lower to middle income households. Over the last couple of years, we've kind of seen Walmart really kind of migrate more to that target consumer and targeting a little higher income. Are they missing the boat? Walmart's not opening stores like they used to? Robert, we'll start with you.
Well, Walmart is opening up stores in different formats, and recently saw an article that said that they're going to open 250 express store formats, which is a smaller store format that directly competes with
about half
Dollar
the size
General.
of a neighborhood market.
Right, yeah, and it competes with Aldi's, Dollar General, Family Dollar, that kind of thing. I think that the strategy driving that is really around proximity, getting closer to the customers, not necessarily offering that kind of product line. Truthfully, Walmart started developing dollar store competitive items and putting them on the modular several years ago, but the consumer's not seeing it. So maybe that is some kind of in-store promotion, flagging kind of problem. But this is going to continue to be a trend because those dollar stores are being successful. You see that.
And Jeff, do you think dollar stores have an advantage? Because as we talked about, Dollar General, Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, they all have dollar in their name, which convey a value, even though maybe a inferior value, but it still conveys a value. And if I'm living paycheck to paycheck,
right,
I'm looking for a value, and I may not care about quality.
Right. I mean, my perspective may be more simplified, but just a branding or marketing kind of approach to the conversation. When you've got the word dollar in your name, whether or not everything actually is $1, you're telling the shopper exactly what to expect in terms of value and price. There are websites that do something similar, that everything you buy on here is $5, and it's in the name of the website. I think calling it an express store doesn't convey that on the banner nearly as effectively.
Conveys
as just
convenience.
saying,
I think it conveys convenience, but
Right.
it conveys value.
So I think that's an edge that those stores will always have.
I think another implication for suppliers is you need to begin looking at your assortment, what you can offer Walmart, and start to create, if you don't have it already, items that will fit in the dollar category.
Well, that's the other thing I want to talk to you about, because I've been told by buyers, and I think everyone would agree, that once you move your items into that dollar trade, that typically those are items that are in decline within their life cycle. So as a supplier, and these stores are growing very quickly, I have a great opportunity here to go and promote my brand and get it in, because they're growing like Walmart was 10 years ago. I mean, they're opening stores all the time. So as a supplier, do I wait and do that knowing that I could cause some damage to my brand, or do I see the growth opportunity for that brand and move to help with the dollar stores? Now, obviously, there's going to be some issues with going into Walmart, because if you sell in a dollar store, we need to work on EDLC a little bit more. But what's your take on that from a supplier perspective?
Well, I think you have to look at your branding strategy overall and find out or determine what's right for your company, and economically make the decision that's going to move the needle, most for your company. I think that you can do both. I think that you can put items in there. It's really about the type of item that you put in, the quality, that kind of thing, and then work directly with the retailer like Walmart on messaging. So, trying to back up what is the value proposition, really. Explain that.
What's your perception, Jeff, when you see a product in a Walmart or in a Target, and then you see the same product in a dollar store? Is there value perception there?
I think you and I have had some conversations about this before. Some of it just comes down to the unit size. How many ounces are in this? And it's more math than I'm always going to do as a shopper, standing there and trying to figure out. So I think you've made the value decision before you step into the store. Which store do I think I'm going to find better value in?
And one final thing that I wanted to hit on real quick. Government shutdown this week, obviously going to cause some ripple effects across the retail sector. And Jeff, you and I were talking before the show. One of the things that we're seeing now are WIC vouchers.
Right.
And you had some interesting statistics.
Yeah, as I said earlier, 53% of infants born in the United States today are on WIC, are receiving their nutrition through WIC coupons. And so not any kind of political statement, but just from the supplier's perspective, that's going to impact any supplier of those goods, and maybe even more broadly, anybody who's making, anybody whose goods are also in those baskets, might see an impact with fewer trips by those
obviously
shoppers.
The milk and juice and peanut butter, cheese suppliers, but then more importantly, trips, and that's one of the things I know Walmart has kind of struggled with over the last, certainly last year, are the number of trips into the store. Robert, how do you combat that, or do you?
It's really difficult. If you're a supplier that's greatly impacted by WIC, once that time expires, it's gone. And we'll kind of see what happens when the government opens back up. Perhaps they're going to see some residual, usage of those vouchers, but they're certainly going to see a blip on the radar. And I think that it's important that they adjust their forecasting and planning accordingly.
Yeah, because a lot of those are perishable.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you very much. Stick around, because when we come back on Saturday Morning Meeting, we'll talk with Senior Director for Merchandising and Electronics, Rand Waddoups, and he's going to talk about innovation, all when Saturday Morning Meeting continues.
GigWalk is an on-demand mobile workforce that can collect data and do work at retail. Businesses use GigWalk for retail audits, merchandising, and much more. With 350,000 smartphone-enabled workers available on demand, you get unprecedented speed and coverage across the U.S., Canada, and the UK. And all work is reviewed for quality and accuracy. Visit gigwalk.com to learn more.
Today's show has been sponsored in part by 8th & Walton, the premier destination for Walmart supplier education. 8th & Walton offers a variety of services including new supplier onboarding, scorecard optimization, and analysis and reporting. Visit 8thandwalton.com/services to learn more.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Meeting, joined now by Rand Waddoups, Senior Director of Merchandising and Electronics. Rand, thanks for coming in. I want to start off, as we've been talking about innovation, and obviously in electronics, innovation is really how companies kind of survive. Apple just launched 2 new iPhones. Let's talk about the importance of innovation, not only in electronics, but more importantly, I think in the rest of the box, because I think there are a lot of suppliers, and when I was at Walmart, one of the things that I having a conversation with Tom Coughlin, you've got to take those products that have been around for a long time and do product extensions or line extensions or innovation. Let's talk about the importance of that.
Sure. Being in electronics, innovation is absolutely essential to our success. Innovation drives a huge percentage of the growth every year in the business in electronics, but it's not unique to electronics. We have this problem or this opportunity that comes from innovation. A lack of innovation is the best way to send your products and your categories down to commoditized, very difficult to differentiate, and honestly difficult to grow kinds of categories, stagnant categories. But innovation, I think, is a word that we use frequently, and it's a great word, but what does it mean? And so, for me, I've had to kind of come to terms with what it means to me. So as a merchant, I boil innovation down to three forms. There's price innovation, there's product benefit innovation, and then there's supply chain innovation.
Well, let's talk about price innovation.
Let's
And
do it.
we're going to get to all of these, but let's talk about price innovation. Explain that.
So price innovation, best example I can share with you about price innovation is something we've done recently in electronics in the accessory space around what we call the 488 accessory bin. So you may know that if you have an iPad or an iPhone, or if you have a Galaxy device or whatever it is, and you go and you buy the product and you think, wow, I'm going to go ahead and buy a case, and I'm going to buy a cable, and I'm going to buy a charger, and $150 later, you've walked out of your AT&T store with an incredible margin opportunity for AT&T to just basically rip you off. And I apologize. AT&T is a wonderful company, and they do a great job in their stores. But just across the board, wherever you go, there's a tremendous amount of profit seeking that happens from our competitors, the competitors to Walmart, in the form of accessories. And we looked out there and said, you know what, we got to take care of our customer. We have a great opportunity here where we can go lower the price, allow our customers to access this, and oh, by the way, with that kind of price innovation, drive consumability, drive excitement around the product, drive a whole new opportunity for people to think about entering the category where they may have not been in it before.
Because I've heard a lot of people, in fact, my wife and both have been guilty of that. I'm not going to upgrade my phone because then I got to buy a new car charger, a wall charger, all these accessories that go with it.
You got it. And it opens up the customer to freedom. Freedom around their device, freedom around the experience. It's just so much more positive when you feel like you can get all the stuff around your phone at a value. And so we came up with this 488 idea, and we have a great buyer who works for me who pulled this all together. Chargers, cables, cases, all $4.88 through some fashion and some color and some engagement, through some excitement in the product itself, and put it all out there. We still make good margin. We still make enough that we're really happy with it, and we've created an opportunity for the customer to access these amazing price points, and we're driving a tremendous amount of volume off of it. It's a huge area for growth. And all the issues that people were afraid of, again, one of the things that stifles innovation is fear of trade down or trade across.
Well, and that's the problem I see in price innovation, because if I lower my cost or lower my price to the retailer, am I taking dollars? I get asked this often. You're taking dollars out of the category, and I know something that you told me years ago. You don't put units in the bank; you have to put dollars in the bank. So
it's true.
What's the advantage, though, of doing that?
The key is you've got to find the items where you can go from something that customers they hold back on their purchasing because they feel like, you know what, that's not a category I want to be in any more than I have to a category where you've got the ability to turn it into a consumable. And so if you can take cables and you can remind that woman who's buying this cable that she can come in and for $4.88 she can buy one for her house and for her work and for her purse and for her travel bag, suddenly that cable becomes something that she expands her consumption of. And those kind of expandable consumable opportunities become great opportunities for incremental sales, and they have a halo effect to everything else in the department, which is exciting, and that's what innovation done well looks like.
Price innovation. Let's go to number 2.
So number 2, let's do product benefit innovation. And my favorite example here goes back to the old days in chocolate. So I believe that in product benefit innovation, there are 2 things to recognize. First of all, there are products where you can disaggregate the benefits and make it clear to the customer that the most important thing you need to understand in this product is this one thing. And then there are innovations that are just plain and simple, brilliant, that is beautiful, I love what you've done here, this is great.
Okay.
And one of the items that kind of did both of those and sort of was the perfect nexus of both was 7 or 8 years ago, I don't know how long ago it was, when somebody decided, you know what, we can come up with dark chocolate and we can create health benefits from it. And so you get this single focus on health benefits, and you get the fact that it's, you know, phenomenally good tasting and a little bit different experience, a little more trendy, kind of cool flavors. And you put those together, and you had literally, just a few years ago, 10, 12 years ago, you only had 1 or 2 SKUs of dark chocolate in the entire mix.
Right.
Today, there's what, 12 feet of dark chocolate in the
it's
store?
really exploded.
Right. And that was driven by what I like to call a tipping point item. An item that you can go choose and get behind and put all your guns behind it. Because if you can go really, really get effective on one item and drive it and its concept to the next level, when you find that nexus between disaggregate the benefits to there is this one thing that I want to share with you that's amazing. And, oh, by the way, there's some cool stuff about this that it tastes great, it's really fun and different as well.
But most importantly, it's healthy for you. Good for you.
Exactly. Those create opportunities that then you can get behind and drive hard. And it becomes a tipping point SKU that goes from 1 or 2 items to a 12-foot section. Yogurt has done this before.
With Greek yogurt.
Greek yogurt.
I mean, everything is Greek yogurt.
And it's the great thing about that is there are hundreds of more available out there. It's about finding the right ones, and it's about opening up your mind and your thought process to try to bring in as many different ideas as you can to try to find your next Greek yogurt or big benefit that you can go push.
Okay. And the third one?
And the third one is supply chain innovation. And this is something where I believe we've gotten a little bit lax on. I believe that honestly, one of the core strengths of Walmart and its ability to deliver EDLC is and always will be our strength in our supply chain innovation. And supply chain is the fundamentals. It is, you know, MABD and fill rate compliance. It is managing your overall supply chain well from the very beginning and not thinking about single individual nodes. It's all of those things, but it's also being willing to be a little bit different and pushing the envelope around what you can do and putting your best minds into supply chain. That's where I think we've perhaps gotten a little bit lax in the supply base as well as across the total supply chain itself. Right. I think we've perhaps not put our best people into our supply chain problems like we need to in a way that allows us to really get to the next thinking, the next level of opportunity and thinking around innovation there. I know Walmart feels strongly about that.
And you're right, because supply chain really takes care of everything. I mean, I'm in sales, but I also have to worry about replenishment. And too often you see salespeople come in, they want to get that PO, that first initial PO, and they're done. But the real work comes, and we've talked to other people here too, the real work isn't about getting on the shelf at Walmart. Yes. It's about staying on shelf. You stay on shelf because you've got supply chain that's running smoothly. You're hitting your MABDs, you're hitting your fill rates. So good point.
I totally agree. We've got to be more willing to put our best thinking into our supply chain. And when we do, we will keep cutting out costs, which allows us to have better pricing, which allows us to sell more, which allows us to have better costs, which allows us to have better pricing, which allows us to sell more. And that positive interaction of the productivity loop keeps moving for us.
We are out of time for today, but we invite you to join us next week as we continue our conversation with Rand Waddoups, and we'll get his expectations from suppliers as we enter into the Christmas season. We appreciate you taking the time to join us today, and as always, if you have questions or comments, we would love to hear from you. Our email address is saturday@8thandwalton.com. Again, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next Saturday morning.